CMC, for the people, by the people, and to the people. Citizens Movement for Change. Oh yes, a new day has come. Yes, a new day has come. Rise up, Liberia. CMC, for the people. CMC, by the people. Let us join our hands together to build a better Liberia. CMC, CMC, for the people. CMC, by the people. Let us join our hands together to build a better Liberia. Equity, national unity, transparency, accountability, social justice, integrity, CMC core values, CMC global. It is a new day for Liberia. It is a new day for the people. Let's all together, let's all together. It's a unity, raise up your hands. CMC, the land of liberty, the land of freedom, the love of liberty brought us together. Let's hold together in peace and unity to build a better Liberia. CMC, CMC, for the people. CMC, by the people. Let's hold together in peace and unity to build a better Liberia. CMC, CMC, for the people. CMC, by the people. Let's hold together in peace and unity to build a better Liberia. CMC, yes, 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 the time has come.
Yes, the CMC and the time has come is our signature team here. And again, it is a wonderful evening from Liberia, West Africa. It is always my pleasing pleasure to be here with you on this platform. I hope you had a wonderful time. For those of you outside the data weight of Liberia and joining us tonight, whatever the time is at your location, it is a pleasant time for us to be back here on this platform. It is always good to come to talk Liberia as our common denominator. We talk more about the country. We talk those issues affecting the growth and development of our nation. Tonight, we hope to be joined by the rest of our team members. And as soon as they can make the way to the platform, we will definitely welcome them to the show. There's a lot taking place in our country, and there's a lot to talk about as well on tonight. And we will be bringing you very frank analysis about those trending issues in the country. We'll find some time to dabble around some of the controversial conversation taking place in Liberia. Our team of panelists will make their input. We urge you to please share this platform, share the show, whatever you are, share with your friends, and let that friend share with another friend, and so that we can have a very good time together here on this platform tonight. For those of you joining us inside Liberia and monitoring us via our radio stations outlet, we'd like to say it is a pleasant good evening to you and welcome to this platform where, in fact, we talk more about development issues confronting our country, Liberia, and we'll bring you some of the news within the ambit of the Citizens Movement for Change, the CMC for short. And we'll talk more about those areas of concentration from the Citizens Movement for Change. And then we cross carpet to talk about the trending national issues in our country. There seems to be a lot more of different conversation taking place. There is a conversation around the pending protests by the group, the civil society group known as STEN, with its head, Mr. Moba Molu. There seems to be some conversation around the possibility of that pending protest on December 17. Remember that the government of Liberia, through the security sector, seem to be rejecting the venue requested by Stand for their protests. And the controversial issue now is if there were protests held at the same venue some years back, why is it now prohibited for others to stage protests? We all are aware that there was a protest on the grounds of the um, executive mansion, between the executive mansion and Capitol Hill in that premises. There was a big protest staged there during the regime of this CDC, that popular contestation, which of course were being staged in the presence of state security. So if that grounds were made available for people to assemble and call the government attention to their dissatisfaction, why is it now being prohibited under the current administration when those who were protesting yesterday are today leaders of our country? So if they could be allowed to assemble and protest from the grounds of the executive mansion or in front of the executive mansion, in front of the Capitol building, and others are now saying we are planning our protests and we intend to stage a protest at the same venue. Why is it now being restricted, or why is the government of Liberia refusing for people to assemble to hold their protests? But the protesters seem to be very strong. Now we'll keep our eyes on the development, because STEN have said in their quest that the December 17 protests categorically reject the Liberia National Police claim that the executive mansion grounds are not designated for protest. So the question here is, if the ground were suitable for protests in the 6 years of former President Weah, why is it now a prohibited site for people to assemble to exercise their democratic right? The STEN organizers claim that the section is historically dishonest, legally baseless, and politically insensitive, and constitute a direct insult to constitutional democracy. It's rejected. It is rejected in its entirety. So we will look at that. We will see why and how do they intend now to proceed, because it is both shameful in the continuation of the stand release that they consider that hypocritical, that the same executive marshal grounds freed the news for protests and assembly in 2019 and 2020, but those who are now in power are today being falsely declared off limits That's what the police say. It is off limits. And again, demanding accountability. This is disgraceful. And of course, it is a pure fear of the people. So the pending conversation around the protest seem to be a very serious conversation. We are looking how this will turn out at the end of the day. But the police have said that the grounds of the executive mansion is prohibited, and no one will be allowed to use the grounds of the executive mansion. Just running you through some of the trending issues in town before we go on to those controversial conversations. Again, as part of the government festive geared up ceremony, I know that there's this normal formality of the Christmas tree cantata celebration. Uh, Today, the president of the country, President Boakai, participated in the lighting of the national Christmas tree and the cantata on the grounds of the executive mansion. That was something that has now become customary to the Liberian geopolitics. Of course, it is part of what happens during the festive season. So we expect that the government of the day will do that. And that actually took place today. We also want to inform you that the president of Liberia, His Excellency President Joseph Human Boakai, has taken some action. You know, few days ago, there was this big celebration in the country that had to do with people living with disability. That celebration, in my mind, did not end well, and it was a very shameful end to the International Day of People Living with Disabilities. At the end of the day, there was police intervention. People were beaten. Disabled people were being um, beaten. The cane, the walking stick, and the wheelchairs were destroyed. Tear gas canister was with fire, and there's been this call, from the ordinary people as to why people with disability were treated, the way they were being treated on their day, especially a day set aside for their celebration and a day in observance of people living with disability around the world. The Liberian scenario did not end very well. And so today, the president have decided that following the recommendation from the team set aside, the committee that were investigating concerning the National Commission on Disability, they made a recommendation, and in that recommendation, the president have decided to take some action, and that action is now affecting the temporary suspension of the executive director of the National Commission on the Disabilities, Mr. Samuel Dean, and his deputy executive director, Madam Winifred P., from their respective position pending the conclusion of an audit into allegation of mismanagement at the commission. So before all of these situation took place, there were several allegations of mismanagement with people living with disability in the country. And to be exact, those issues led to serious claim and counterclaim. And so on the day of the celebration of the day set aside to recognize people living with disability, the commission itself went into chaos. There was this serious misunderstanding that led to people being tear gas and beaten. And so the president on today decided to relieve those responsible of their posts while they go through investigation of an audit, an allegation of mismanagement. Again, it is not being mentioned in this situation about the action that happened on the day, but an audit on allegation of mismanagement at the commission. Let me say welcome to you, Mas. It's good to see you, and I'm hoping you are doing very well. How you doing? How you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mr. Toby. Sorry, I've been struggling to log in, and I'm finally in, but I'm doing good, and I'm happy to be here.
Good to see you, and I'm hoping that the rest of the team members will join us. Today is a very important day, a firing conversation. We hope. Is that possible that you can mute? I'm getting some feedback from your gadget. Okay, so like I was saying, tonight promised to be a very promising night. But while you were logging in, I'm sure you've been following. I was just talking about the suspension of the heads of the Commission on Disabilities by the president of the country, President Boakai. He temporarily suspended the executive director of the National Commission on Disabilities. According to what they said here, they are going through an investigation that had to do with mismanagement at the commission. But prior to this, a few weeks ago, I think a week or two, we were talking about the way people with disability were being treated on the day of, the International Day with people living with disability. The Liberian scenario did not end well. People with disability were being tear gassed. The police were heavy-handed on them. The wheelchairs were taken away. People were being beaten. It was a whole evening of frustration, all because they were asking for transportation allowance to make their way back to their respective location. Something that did not work, and it ended up chaotic. In the instance of all of what took place today, the two heads have been suspended by the president for citing mismanagement at the institution, financial mismanagement and audit that is being conducted. I want us to talk about this issue of people living with disability and the manner in which they were being treated, and the current decision by the president suspending the two high-ranking officials in the structure, you know, while they are going through this investigation. Let me welcome you and have your official opening comments to the platform tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Toby. Like you read listed, I think it was just last week we were talking about people with disability and how they have been mistreated in our society, and really not much attention has been given to them. And this suspension of the management tells you exactly where we stand when we try to discuss, when we are discussing those issues and try to raise an awareness on them. And for me personally, people with disability is personal to me because I have a nephew. I have a nephew who has lived, in fact right now he's in his 30, his early 30. He has lived with disability from the time he was born. He was born with disability. He currently resides in Canada. And if I tell you how smart, extremely smart that young man is, you won't believe it. I remember back in 2016, I was in Canada. because his mom passed away, so I went for the burial. And that little boy, so many things he's doing, and every time, imagine how little he was when he left Liberia. I can say he did not even live in Liberia because he was in Ghana, and then they went to they were able to go to Canada, and it was because of his condition, that he was granted asylum along with my oldest brother, his entire family, other brothers, all of them, they were granted asylum because of him, to Canada. And all that little boy talks about is how he wants to go back to make a difference. All he talks about. He knows everything. I'm just saying this to tell you that he lives in a society where he's not being judged by his disability. He's not being mismanaged. He's not being treated differently. They see him as a human being. And so, if we have such a society that we value our people in Liberia, just treat them like human beings, like all of us, we are human beings. Just treat each other like that. I think we'll have a great society. But then again, that reminds me, Mr. Toby, and I'm pretty sure you can agree with this. When we were growing up, people who had disability, they were always referred to as people who were in wish. I don't know if you heard that growing up, but
I
I
did.
did.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were always regarded as people who were in witchcraft activities and stuff. And so when you have that kind of mindset growing up in a society, now that some of us we are educated, we know the difference. We know nobody with disabilities in which is not being in which, or your parents being in which and stuff like that. It's just a natural occurrence. Sometimes it's natural, sometimes, people get into accident, so many things happen along the way. So if you're growing up in a society that regards, people like that, you know it's hard to already have people who would take on such a role and become so compassionate or even empathize with other people's condition. You know, and that's the kind of thing that we have to really be pushing in our society, especially for some of us who got kids, and even some of us who are educated. Go into this society, into these communities, and be able to talk to people, how to show compassion. Because now we have new generations growing up every day. Babies are being born in our society, so now is the time, and to really be able to say that also in school, teaching people that this person is just as important, just as special, just as beautiful, just as unique as you. So you don't look at their disability, you look at them as a human being, what they are bringing to the table. But like I said, we are in a society that we don't even value each other. We don't even respect each other. We don't even see the potential that each of us bring to our country that can create a better society or a better environment for us. We don't see that. We see things that have nothing to do with the growth of our community or our society or our environment. And those are the things that we continue to spread around like wildfire. Instead of spreading compassion, instead of spreading empathy, and all those kind of stuff that will make a person, even if they're in their most deplorable situation, will make them to bounce back. Sometimes people think that money is everything. No, your words, the kind words that you give to somebody, it can bring that person back to life. It can energize them. It can make them to go further. And so this is the kind of person that we would need to be heading such an institution that sees everybody for who they are as human beings. So I am really not surprised that the president was able to temporarily suspend these people who are managing special populations. Sometimes I refer to them as a special population. You know, I'm not surprised by that. But I'm only surprised that it took the president so long, almost 3 years now, to realize that the people with disability have been mistreated, they have been mismanaged, they have been disregarded in our society, they are not valued, and people are not seeking their welfare. But all in all, I just want to commend the president for taking such a bold step. We need people to be placed at these institutions who have a passion for their job, who have passion for the people that they provide these services to, if at all they are providing services. But yeah, I think that was a great step, and I don't see that audit coming out I don't see it to be, I hope that it's not just one of those investigations, because if you already follow this government, you will know that they have so many cases on file, and they have been unable to even tell the Liberian people the outcome of these investigations that they have on file. So I hope that this issue is just not one of their, filing issue where they just have in the folder and they will never return to it. I hope they will get to the bottom of it and be able to, if the need be able to fire them and be able to bring in somebody who has passion and compassion for this position, and also for the people that they serve.
All right. Thank you for just mute again a little bit. So again, thank you for making those very strong points. We'll stick around that for a little while, then we'll move on to our next topic. We hope the rest of the team members will join in, but the both of us we can get on talking. You know, the gentleman in question, Mr. Samuel Dane, I remember him very well when he was not given the position, and this is the part of the job that a lot of people sometimes find it difficult to understand. I remember Samuel when he was not
Mr.
in the
Toby,
lead.
I'm not cutting you off. Is that Samuel who contested the election this 2023?
No, that's one that Mr. Samuel Dean. He's also in the special category, so he's also a disabled young man. But he was being one of those who criticized the past leadership of those who were leading people living with disability. And he spoke so passionately about, you know, the leadership, weren't paying attention to them. They were being abused. The government of the day did not cater to them. So he was one of the many voices who spoke against leaders of his team. And good for him, he became a part of the Unity Party. And then when the government won the election, I'm sure based on his advocacy, they now thought to entrust him to correct the wrongs that he saw others were involved with. And surprisingly, since his ascendancy, all we've been hearing from the commission has been controversial issue of mismanagement, people attending program and not getting transportation reimbursement, a whole lot of different things. So it comes back to us to speak to when people are not in power and they are sitting on the fence, they see a lot and they criticize a lot. And when you give them the authority to step in, the same thing they criticize, the same advocacy that they saw out there, they leave those advocacy outside of the door, walk into the position and fail to correct the wrongs. And to see Mr. Samuel Bain, of all persons, who spoke against almost all of the leaders who headed the disabled community when he wasn't in the leadership, to be in the leadership at this time to correct those things. And here we are. In 2 years, or in less than 2 years since he got promoted to the job, he's now being questioned about financial misconduct. Audit is taking place. He's been suspended off the job. What become of all of those things that he saw as negatives, that he spoke against, that he criticized others who headed the commission few years back? What become of that advocacy? What have blind his eyes, to stop advocating and trying to correct the wrongs? So I'm sitting here and thinking, what sort of approach do we take into our places of work or in the space we're given to work? After we criticize others, we get into the position and we do almost the same thing, or we even do worse than what others we criticize did in the past. Let me hear you on this, Masa.
Thank you, Mr. Toby. You see, just like you said, this is something that I have over the years I've spoken against. Sometimes when you are not in the system, you see all of the wrongs. And it's not that when you are in the system, you don't see it. But because you are in the system, it's hard for you to criticize the system that you are part of, which is ethical. Let me tell you, it's not unethical. It's ethical. There's no way you can be working at an institution and be verbally criticizing that institution or putting stuff out there. Even in this country that we live in, you cannot do it. It means you have to exit. There are so many ways that you can approach the wrongs that you are seeing when you're in that institution. But to take it in the public eyes, it means you do not want to be part of that institution. So it's not unethical for people to be part of an institution and saying the wrong thing and not talking about it. It's not unethical. It's professional because you have your bosses there. You have channel of communication that you can communicate those things, those wrong things that you are saying, regardless whether somebody listening or not. But that's professional. So for people who are outside, they tend to be more vocal about these things because they're saying it or people sharing it with them, and then they are saying it because you know why? They are not nobody will hold them responsible. Nobody will fire them. So they have the opportunity to say a whole lot of stuff that they see when they are not in power. But that is not the issue. The issue is if you are saying those things, if you are advocating against those things, and yes, you are right. I think I'm friend with Samuel on Facebook. I follow some of his activities over the years on social media. He has been very, very vocal. In my mind, I think um he has been passionate about the disabled community when he was not in the position now. And so we expect him to really be able to bring that same passion that when he was out of the institution. We're not saying speak against government, but a little opportunity that government gave you, to serve your community, be able to serve them and do it the right way. Like now you're talking about mismanagement of funds and those kind of stuff. And I think it's a lot that's gonna come out when they do the investigation. So we don't expect people like that who were so vocal, everybody admires them, and then they get into the system, and then it becomes the problem for the system. That's not what we expect. And that reminds me again about the Unity Party government, the entire government. They're was so outspoken about everything. Josh, we are, and some of us we were. I was very outspoken because that's uh, um that's one of the government that I too was passionate about coming in after Madame Saleh, and not wanting to repeat Unity Party, and we all supported it. So yeah, we were outside. We all of us, including Unity Party partisans, we spoke against what was going on in the government. And so we expected you now, who previously had this position for 12 years, even though by then the president was an old packer, like he said. He was a vice president. But regardless of him complaining of being packed for 12 years, he still was able to understand government. He understood how government, especially the Liberian government, he understood everything. So we expected him to come in and be able to. Can you mute and say answer? Okay, thank you. We expected them to come in and be able to be the change, to be able to see the things that they saw out there that they were so vocal about, to come in and be able to create that change and do the things that are missing. But then, like you said, they got into power and everything that they criticize, they double down on everything. They do everything, even more than what they criticize. So, and then it brings me to the question: is it something different, or is it like um, because I don't want to believe that it's a whole different environment. Paul, what is it that really causes people to behave differently when they are in government, when they are serving in government, in our Liberian government? What causes someone to behave differently? And you will find out that Mr. Toby, I was discussing with somebody, I'm like, okay, even for people who live in the diaspora before that was so vocal about government, speaking against government, like you give them a little position. They learn everything in this Western world. And then some of them, they go back, they even do worse than the people who never even travel out of the country. You know, so what is it that is in our governing system that really creates such environment for a person? Is it an environment that is only there for people to adapt to the system, the way of doing things, the thing that has been normalized? Or I don't know, Mr. Toby. I don't know. I wish that was on his call, so she can put on her psychologist lens and really be able to explain some of these things, right? Because even me, sometimes I'm asking a question, I'm like, it almost like some of the people who go back doing, like the other day, me and my husband were talking, like, people go back during Christmas time, right? And you hear people say, oh, Liberia is so sweet. Liberia is so sweet. Liberia is so sweet. I mean, but things that people will not do in America, you see them doing it in Liberia. Is it that I don't know? Is it because people don't respect rule and order or laws and or I don't know, But then when they are in America, obviously you don't see them drinking liquor and driving. No, because you know that when you are caught, you're gonna face the consequences. But then when you are in Liberia, you see somebody holding liquor bottle, they're driving, and even if the police try to talk to them, they cost the person or they get the person one or two saying the police allow them to go. So I don't understand what they say about society that when people enter in, it's just different. Is it just one way to adaptation?
Okay, that's a $1 million question. So whether it's a one way to adaptation, but again, that is the sweetness of Liberia, and that's the reason why a lot of people miss Liberia, because those restrictions that 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 you encounter in places you live, like for those of you in the U.S. and those of our many Liberians in other parts of the world, they had to confront the reality of the society, and I think that is a societal norm. The things that we do here is not possible for us to do them in other places. We are law abiding, even though we got laws here. Our movement here, our interaction here, the things we do in Liberia, uh, it is difficult for you to do it in your space because your space is all about work and work, rule of law. Like we do here, we got laws here. People people leave their homes and and go places to work as well. But the Liberian mentality, I'm sure that is what um, Liberians enjoy. Because, for example, like you rightly said, for those of our friends who live in the US, when they are opportune to come back to Liberia for vacation, Yes, there's no time in the US that you leave your work to go to club. So there's no party section. Once in a while, you're in the basement, you maybe to a friend place, but how often do you do that? So you work with a lot of stress, and when you come here, you think there's a place to de-stress. So we see a lot of different things happening in our setting, but in the governance, like you rightly said, in our country, a lot of people will criticize a lot, and it is not just about this administration. Even people will condemn the government, they will insult the president of the day, and sometimes people get accommodated in government because of their insult or because of the way they approach the administration of the day. And the administration thinks that the only way they can keep you silent is to incorporate you. And once you get incorporated, now your advocacy ends. Those things that you talked about yesterday that you said was wrong will now become right. When others start to talk about it, you now that was talking about it yesterday, you take that now to be the bad thing. So you join the praise singers to now condemn what you used to condemn in the past. So we see that repeatedly. So we are just moving in cycle, and it is affecting our country because uh, if we are to progress as a country, there's a lot we ought to do to change the way we see things outside government, the way we approach things inside government, and the way we even make recommendation to our leaders. Because the leaders do the same thing. Even before President Baka became president, he was one man who was taking a lot of note from interaction with people. He had a notepad. I'm sure he still carries that pad with him today. Every time he pay him a visit, he goes back pages by pages and telling people, some things that he jotted down in that record book. And he was taking those things down, maybe knowing one day he will have the opportunity to correct them as a leader of our country, or he will find some time to see how he will correct some of those things. Good for him in his age, he has become president of the country. So what becomes of all of the things that he kept in his notepad? What becomes of those conversations that he had with his former boss, for example, that he saw when he was vice president, that he could not correct because he was a parked vehicle. Now he is the moving vehicle. So those things that he saw wrong during the 12 years of that administration should be the things that he should be correcting and the things that the way administration did wrong. So there's a whole dossier of different things, I'm sure, with the experience of President Barkai, and should be correcting. But here comes the president. He's capping into what he condemned yesterday. When President Weah was flying private jet here, it became a subject of conversation, not knowing the difficulties presidents will encounter. It is not possible for your president to be in transit in an airport when his friends are scheduled in a meeting at 10 o'clock. It is not possible for the president to fly out of Liberia Roberts International Airport, go to Accra for 30 minutes, fly into Togo, wait for 2 hours to get a plane to go to Nigeria. So the space, because there's no interconnection in terms of flights, the limited flights, presidents always felt comfortable security wise and other stuff to make use of those charter flights, those kind of things. But the government of the day saw that wrong yesterday. Surprisingly, we are repeating the same thing. The current president is flying into Abidjan. He's not driving. He's flying into Sierra Leone. He's not going by road. He's going to a summit in Abuja. He's going on commercial flights, not commercial flight, but he's traveling on private flights. All right. But those things were the wrong things that they saw in the Weir administration. They condemn it, they criticize it, they call it all sort of names. But they were on the outside when they saw it. Now they come into the playing field and they are doing exactly the same thing. So it's just the situation of us finding ourselves, no matter how the experience you've had in serving the country. But from the outside you see a lot, and from the inside it tends to be very challenging. And that is the situation with the Biden administration. They are suspending people, they are putting people on temporary suspension, they are investigating those results. The LDCC, the GAC got a whole storage full of cases that is yet to be adjudicated. There's there are not been fundings, there's no report, people that have been compromised, they are doing you know, solution outside of the investigation now. They're trying to settle other people to forget about some of the 10 new conversation. So there's a whole lot of different things happening. And, when you sit and think about it, you wonder how people who come with that experience will repeat the same thing that they criticized of yesterday. But let me have your closing comments on this. Then we'll come back with this with our second topic.
Yeah, you see, Mr. Toby, for me personally, if you put Joseph Barker and put former President Weir and ask, like who could you pardon in terms of the mistakes, I would probably pardon President Weir. Because President Weir came to the presidency without any experience other than the few time he spent, and that's not the presidency anyway, that's the legislature. But he came to the presidency without any experience. And Joseph Boaga came to the presidency with so much experience. This is a man who served 12 years as a VP. And prior to the 12 years as a VP, this is a man who has worked in the executive, high profile positions in the executive. So he came very close to being a president. And he knows a lot, you know. And so for me personally, I don't expect him to be doing everything that he's doing right now. I don't expect him to be doing that because we expect to see more like a responsible, professional, compassionate kind of leadership from President Barker. That's what we expect to see from him. But like you said, people are only good at criticizing when they don't have the moment. They don't criticize when they are in the moment. And they don't face the things that they criticize when they are given the opportunity. Who there? Who is it? Hold on,
Are you
Toby.
there?
Yeah, hold on, Toby.
Okay, so she's trying to adjust a little bit. So we are just talking about some of those situations of the way people criticize when they are out of the space of leadership, and they come back and they'll try to correct some of the things they criticize, but we see a lot going
Toby, I'm
inside.
sorry. We in a we in a society now where you know you're not expecting somebody to your door just knocking like police. So,
Yeah,
yeah, my daughter just told me it's the UPS people they dropping off a package. So
oh, okay. Yeah, no problem. So that means like you to end from where you stop.
yeah, so like I was saying, and sorry audience, like I was saying, we expect a lot of leadership, exemplars leadership from President Walker, because this is a man who has been in this role. I mean, yeah, he was not the president, but he was the second person in command for 12 years. And when he left, he said that they had so many opportunities, but they squandered it. So I don't know what's the difference when he was there as vice president and not being a president and still squandering so many opportunities. The opportunity to serve, the opportunity to be in the best interest of your people. This is the president who said that no cars were going to get stuck in 3 months. In fact, they said they were bringing 285 yellow machines, and we are yet to see those yellow machines being delivered. This is a president who the Ministry of Education said they launched 10,000 scholarship for young people to get involved into IT. We are yet to see one student who benefited from that scholarship. So I just feel like there are a lot of lies going on just to just for publicity than actually doing the work. So, like you said, we look forward to ready. Hopefully, this coming new year, what they're gonna be turning 3 years. Hopefully, they will be able to ready understand their role and be able to perform. But so far, it has been the worst of experience, and I hope that they will bounce back. Thank you, Mr. Toby.
All right, Massa, thank you, thank you. I'm sure we are feeling very very well tonight. Let me take some time to welcome those of our friends who are up this night from the Vero location joining us here. Uh, Mam Mamhamadu Bari says here he's watching, he's following from Monrovia, to be specific, in the Douala area. Flomo Suba says, yeah, nonsense protest. I'm sure that's the protest with Stan. Samuel of Fayad is following us from Zoeju City. Zoeju is in Grand Jide. Kanyo Mola says, good evening. I'm listening from Liberia. Please send me data. I'm not sure we can do that here. Christine Sensi Nad is following. He says he's following us from Bombing County. He's part of the Youth League of CMC Bombing chapter. He's the chairperson. Thanks for staying with us. Lazo Kroman is watching. He says we are here again. W. Heron Crep Kennedy is watching from uh, is that New York?
Minnesota.
Minnesota, right? Okay, NN. Okay, so Minnesota. Okay, and then Imaiwati Dixon, Sir Obmas Dopogia, you join CMC2. Okay, so she's here. Abu Duklid is following us. He's talking JMBJKK. You're entitled to your view on this platform. He's done that repeatedly on here, but thanks that you are here with us. Let's switch to something, and we got more to go tonight. We just start to talk about that, but there's something that is now becoming a little bit of a sticky conversation, and we've played around some of the issues that seem to be discussed in the Liberian budget, and I see a lot of different justification coming from some of the actors in our budget space. And there's this argument as to why the Ministry of Agriculture, for example, that the president of the country specialized in, because in his growth in Liberian politics, places his work has been the agro sector, somewhere he served for the very good time. So he's come with a lot of experience. But again, in the current budget, there is this conversation as to how much the Ministry of Agriculture, you know, has been allotted in the budget. It is now being said that 13 million, a country that should be self-sufficient in agriculture, and some of the justification is that the Ministry of Agriculture seem to be receiving a lot of fundings, or funding coming into the sector. So the government, in her quest, thought that giving her more than 13 million would not be a good thing. So they allotted 13 million because they are receiving donor fundings. But somebody tried to do an analysis, which I want to share with you that will allow you to have a take on it. So we know that, for example, in education, there are also partners in education, and there are also donor funding, going towards education. But for education, the government decided to give them in the allotment of the budget, 123 million goes to education. But education is also being funded. There are some donor funding going towards education. And for health, for example, just a few days ago, the Ministry of Health received some money from the US. In the current budget discussion, there is something around 1.1 million, but they are also receiving donor funding. And so people, should not be given an excuse because the Ministry of Agriculture is receiving donor funding. So a country should not be depending on handout. We talk about this here repeatedly, and we are still putting our, full our source of feeding our country in the hands of people out there. So we gave the Ministry of Education more money, but they are still getting funding from partners out there. We gave the health sector more money, but they are still receiving donor funding. And we gave the Ministry of Education 30 million on the grounds that they are receiving money from donors, and we expect them to feed us as a country. But it is also annoying to see that you gave the NSA, the security agency, 50 million. So you put bulk of the money in security than in agriculture. What sense is that making to this JMB and Jeremiah Kuhn administration? How do they formulate? What is the justification? What is the rationale in all of this? If you are justifying because education got funding, but you gave them 123 million, they got donor funding, have received more funding from different sources, but you gave them 101 million allocation in the budget. I'm sure at the end of the day, it may likely increase. But for agriculture, that is our source and should be our source that is in the under arrest agenda or rescue document. You gave them 13 million, you gave NSA $15 million. Let me hear you speak to this, Amasa.
Thank you, Mr. Toby. For me personally, all of the amounts that were allocated to those ministries, I feel like just looking at our $1.2 billion budget, I feel like all the ministries that you just got, those are important ministries. They're important institutions, but the money that has been allocated to them, they are little. The money is little. And the argument that because this institution is receiving donor funding, I think that's a lazy argument. And then it's also very irresponsible on the part of the government. The justification for that, very irresponsible. Um, all of the ministries, all of the institutions, especially major institutions, they should be in our budget. They should have funding in our budget to carry on their work. Forget about people who are coming in to help. What if they decide to, cut off their funding abruptly without even, anything? They just decided to because it's donor funding, right? I can start to give you money, Mr. Toby. I say every month I'll give you $100, every month I'll give you $100. And then I decide to stop. So is it because are you gonna live your life depending on the $100 that I promised to give you every month? No, you have your plans. So it's the same way. If you are allocating funding for different institutions to carry on their services and stuff, especially in the annual budget, you should be able to allocate it based on the need of that institution, not because they're getting funding from anywhere. Because anybody, anything can stop at any time. So that was a lazy argument. That was irresponsible on the part of the government. But you stress a very good point with NSA. Why are we giving them more money? You know, security is very important. I would never take it for granted. It's very, very important. But over the years, Mr. Toby, I think the issue with NSA, how every government that comes in, they so put money into NSA, not so much more because of security, but because it's easier for them to withdraw money from there without any investigation. You know, NSA is kind of like a hub for corruption, where government will allocate so much money there, and they'll be able to withdraw it. And because the institution cannot be audited, like I learned, and I don't think it has ever been audited. And so it's an easy pathway for any government to put in more money so that they can be able to get it out of it. Even like the Unity Party headquarters that we are talking about. Who knows? That the building of those headquarters, they are right in our NSA budget, Mr. Toby, because you cannot justify, it's easier to justify and you cannot audit it. So it's easier to take whatever money there. So all of everything we talk about government corruption, that NSA, because nobody can audit NSA. And some of the people that even on the payroll there, Mr. Toby, they are a lot of them, they are ghost names. They are ghost names. One person is going to your account because nobody can audit NSA. But guess what? They can audit the Ministry of Agriculture. They can audit the Ministry of Health, Education, even though their budget still needs to be increased. But like you said, how do we attain self-sufficiency? How do we? If you are allocating $13 million to the Ministry of Education, I mean the Ministry of Agriculture, and then also with the hope that they are receiving donor funding, how do you achieve self-sufficiency? This is an institution that is responsible for ensuring that your people are self-sufficient. They have food, they have everything. And then I'm just curious to know, like over the years, what has the ministry really been able to produce? What is the ministry's success story? Because almost all of the basic things that we need in Liberia, we are still importing them, and we are not really exporting anything. So, what is the Ministry of Agriculture? What are they really doing? You know, and I mean, just to be play a devil advocate here. I mean, like just let me just say for a second, I agree with the government. Like the Ministry of Agriculture received 13 million. Can they justify the 13 million? So we have to be ready, holding institutions accountable for these funds that we are giving them. What are they producing? What the work are they doing? The Ministry of Education so far, I mean the Ministry of Agriculture, I've really not seen any success story from that ministry since I've been a Liberian and an adult. It's always, yeah, I don't know. I think I was looking at that fund that she just even opened recently. I think she's even producing a lot of crops over there in the Ministry of Agriculture. So I just want to see some of the work that they are doing. I'm just curious to know.
Okay, thank you very much, and let me welcome Professor Dr. Richardson. That's good to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you guys. Thank you for being here.
Okay. So you join us midway into the show, and you join in time that we are discussing a very serious part of tonight's conversation. If we are to grow what we eat, or eat what we grow, and the conversation around the city right now on other issue is about the justification on funding allotted to the Ministry of Agriculture. And like you heard Mars already talking about, uh, it is believed that because the Ministry of Agriculture is receiving a lot in donor funding, and so a 13 million allocation in the budget is sufficient of the money to keep the agro sector going. The counter argument to that is that there are donor funding going towards education. But even as they receive those donor funding, we rightly gave education ministry 123 million in terms of the budget allocation, even though it is still not passed. Then the Ministry of Health, that is also a very serious sector in our country, was rightly given 101 million, but they are also receiving donor funding. So if the Ministry of Agriculture, that is a very key instrument or sector in our country, is receiving 13 million, and we're giving the security sector, specifically the National Security Agency, the NSA, 15 million, what is the justification of the donor funding, and why we're giving 13 million and to the Ministry of Agriculture when they should be feeding us? We're giving 15 million to NSA that is never been audited, that no one see their employees. We don't know they are how many on their payroll, but they are receiving 15 million. And someone think that is where bulk of the corrupt money goes, because those monies are not being accounted for. Let me welcome you, Dr. Francis.
Yeah, thank you guys again for holding down. Uh, I was listening all along, even though I was, traveling. I wasn't home, but Masa raised an excellent question about the Ministry of Agriculture's success. She is a citizen of Liberia, and all Liberians should be asking this not only of the Ministry of Agriculture, but of all of the different sectors. What is your success story? What plans do you have to show us that you are doing something differently? Something that the CMC will definitely be engaging and be discussing with the Liberian people, because we are on the path of transforming our country. She asked, what did the Ministry of Agriculture do with $13 million in the past, or what are they doing now? So those were all excellent questions that I hope that Liberians who are listening to us should always be asking. But I want to just, something that both of you mentioned on before I came on the show, before I came on. President Joseph Boakai has always prided himself in being an agriculturalist. He told us agriculture was very dear to his heart. As a matter of fact, one time he served as the Minister of Agriculture. With the few times that he worked with LP, the petroleum industry, he came back and worked with LPMC, as managing director or what have you. So somebody who tells us that agriculture is very dear to them, it's a slap in the face to many Liberians to allow such low amount, at least 1.1% of your national budget, okay, to agriculture, an industry that will say employ a lot of Liberians. You guys can recall every single one of us that grew up in Liberia, somewhere, somehow, your parents had a little garden, okay? Somewhere, somehow, our parents were involved in farming or knew something about planting. So for me to see this government, who also have A in the arrest agenda, okay, agriculture, the A by people, if you listen to us, stands for agriculture, to now come and have, like you tell us, 13 million, one of the lowest point in the budget that they have given to the legislature to review. Okay. I mean, it came from the executive branch. It came from President Buckeye's office. His finance minister put the budget together. I'm sure he had, some comments or feedback to make, to the budget, and then they presented it to the legislature. So it bothers me. It troubles me as a Liberian to see that this president, this government, is telling us that they're going to offer such low percentage in the budget. Even if we look at I'm going to just say this and then we'll go back, I'll circle back to you. You look at the health sector, in as much as people are arguing that, okay, they get donation, but the money that is allocated for these areas, health and education, is extremely low. Those different areas, agriculture, health, and education, they affect majority of Liberians. When we talk about, look at the wage bill and see how high it is, or we talk about maybe 5 persons in the legislature that are getting a significant amount of money for their payment, or we talk about the security sector, which I heard you say, I think they gave them a lot of money. It's not majority of the Liberian people are in those areas. We will say that majority of the Liberian people will benefit from education because every child has to go to school in Liberia for us to have a productive society. We will say that everybody has the potential of getting sick in our country, so our health care has to be up to par. And we are now seeing that agriculture employs majority of the people informally. So why is it that we'll take low amounts in our budget and allocate that to those sectors, but yet and still have high amount for things like security, like somebody coming to, like, we're participating in World War III or II in a significant way? We are not. Okay, so I just wanted to end by saying I believe that budgets for health, education, security, whether it's a weak argument to say, okay, we're having supplementary or complementary support or donation. No, this should be primarily at a higher level than the other things, recurring wage bill, security in our country. So that's what I wanted to add.
All right, thank you. Thank you for making your comment on the question being raised. But a few weeks ago, we all been around your platform and reading. We've been asking the $1 million question about FOIA in Lafayette County. The FOIA conversation is getting more controversial. Instead of clarity, we are being pushed into more uncertain explanation. Because at the initial start of the conversation of FOIA, we heard from the presidential press secretary, who did not give us a clear picture as to who owns the FOIA project. Few days after, the government official information and the Ministry of Information, through its deputy minister, said another phase of the conversation which the public did not buy into. The current Minister of State, Mr. Sam Steve Quia, went for confirmation hearing and still could not tell us a clear picture of the conversation around what is being built in FOIA. So the public has been concerned. They've been knocking the government. We've been putting figure to the government. We've been hearing different attachment to the project. But before bedtime tonight or today, the Deputy Minister of Information wrote in his quest to provide government clarity. And I want to take a few minutes of your time so that you listen to what he posted today, which of course has now given us more questions. And we will attempt to ask some of the questions. He said in his readout on his social media handle, in his quest to provide the clarity that under the caption, let me find the caption for us. Here is everything you need to know about the MRU presidential project for regional peace and development. The first thing the same government have said to us stands with our numbers, the legitimate nature of the project in FOIA is now telling us that the project name and start MRU presidential project for regional peace and development. He said the project is a government of Liberia initiative and it's named the Mano River Union Center for Regional Peace and Development. So one meaning, it is the MRU Presidential Project for Regional Peace and Development. In his second paragraph, he said it is named the Mano River Union Center for Regional Peace and Development. He said it is not private property, as some political actors and media outlets have insinuated. He went further down to say it is a strategic asset specifically designed to host sub-regional, regional, global, high-level gathering, meetings, talks, and conferences focus on mediation, conflict resolution, and economic integration. In his follow-up paragraph, he said it includes a 500-seat conference hall, a secure accommodation in 9 units for visiting dignitaries. It is situated on approximately 7 acres of land in Foya, Lofa County. Then he want to give us a justification. He said, why the project? Liberia is the oldest independent nation in the Mano River Basin, which consists of 4 counties or countries. Liberia is respected as a regional leader and is looked to for guardians on key issues, including regional peace and security. The center offers a secure and strategic space to host national, global, presidential dialogues when Liberia need to do so. Liberia's current role on the United Nations Security Council over the next couple of years, as well as its esteemed and respected standing on the sub-regional, regional, continental, and global stage, required it to be well prepared to support and lead regional dialogues on peace and security beyond the MRU region. The facility on and within the project will be a significant and strategic enhancement to the country's current role. While Foya, he says Foya district is a strategic location in the northern part of Liberia, situated at the Conference of Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. The 3 founding members of the MRU is distance from the bustling suburban area of Lofa and other parts of Liberia makes it an ideal geographical hub, blah, 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 all the way down the line. So he went on to write a lot, right? But now that we've gotten a clue of different accounts, the government has come out to admit and giving us different name of the project. In this one communication, 2 different names. 2 different names. One says MROU Presidential Project for Regional Peace and Development, the Mana River New Center for Regional Peace and Development. But with the admittance of the Deputy Minister of Information, which signified the government final admittance to this project as raising several different questions, different analysis. But I will have you open comment on that, and let me welcome Mr. Nambe. Big, not big, but stay here. So let me hear you out on this. I'll make some follow-up questions here. Like this is where we'll end the show tonight. There are a lot of things to talk about on this one.
Absolutely. To the show. I have maybe just a few words that relate to this project. They lied, and they are continuing to lie to the Liberian people as if we are stupid.
Mr. Nambe, can you mute yourself, please?
From the initial stage, as you pointed out, Mr. Toby, we had so many variations of this one project. And even as you are pointing out today in the press release, they are giving us two different names of one project. There's so many questions we Liberians can ask about this project. How did it decide to put it in FOIA? How, what did it spend? Are wrong in terms of the amount they spend. We heard 10 million. Now the city only spent 6 million earlier on. I think I read or saw that somewhere. And, is it a conflict of interest to have this built in the president's home or near his home? And if we say that this is a security building, and so we can, have access to it, this is why they were protecting us from gaining the rightful information, the right information, then why couldn't they say that in the first place? Why did we need three different stories to verify this one project? That is my question. I know some might argue, well, we kept on telling you guys it was a security. I know one of the latest hearing that I heard, which was, I think, from Public Works Minister, he said, it had security implications, so he couldn't talk about it. To me, this is, a bunch of baloney, in the words of Joe Biden. Okay, bunch of baloney. That's what I have to say.
All right, thank you. So, Mr. Nambe, the first thing here I want you to digest and answer this question is that the government said the project is a Mana River New Center for Regional Peace and Development, a public strategic assets of the Republic of Liberia. The truth is that under Article 34C and F of the 1986 Constitution, Mr. Nambe, only the legislature can create public institution and authorize public spending. There is no act of the legislature, no ratified policy, and no resolution establishing such a center in FOIA. A national institution cannot be created by the executive statement. What are your thoughts?
Well, let me first thank you for the show tonight. You and Masa have been on quite a while, and thanks Dr. Richardson as well for joining you. I'm sorry I just joined you. I was kind of tied up somewhere, but it's good to be here with you. I think you laid the groundwork quite very clearly. First of all, look, it took this government. We understand this project started in September of last year, right? And then Eddie Jaulo of Namod or Namote, he exposed this project back in September. So from the time this thing became public knowledge, that's September, that's October, That's November. This is December. They are just beginning to whip up a narrative. Even at that, this is their best they're putting out, and this is they like Dr. Richardson. This is baloney. What they are putting out, you can't even take this to the first grader in grade, school to take this as an explanation. You're right. The legislature has to approve. Where is the record establishing, this public asset? At first, they said the Monroe, what building is for us. That's what they said at first.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then, yeah, and then they turn around and say, "Oh no, nothing that the president retirement thing. Some friend is trying to build it for the president, as just like a friend is trying to give us the 285 machines, you know." And now I read today what they wrote, and I was shocked that this is what they're going with. You know, yeah, from $10 million, they brought to $6 million, but if it is a national asset, it should go through the right procedure, like you're saying, go through the legislature and make sure we archive it. The documentation is all. Where is the documentation establishing this project? You know, and national security. It's like everything that they have difficulty explaining. They just conveniently put it on a national security. Then we can't ask them any questions. You know, but I'm just really shocked that after all these months, this is what they're really coming with. And people are going to take it apart. And thank you very much. You've already started the process. Where is the legislative backing that they have to do this? They have to come out now. I'm sure the way you're picking it up, other people are going to pick it up. These questions are going to continue to mount. This is really, yeah, I'm shocked. Ever since I read this, I've been thinking, seriously? I mean, this is what this is. But this is what we have, 6 million, they say, of our people, taxpayers' money is going to FOIA. And they're trying to justify the situation. FOIA is conveniently situated. I mean, how? This is a regional, strategic site. I don't know. I mean, how do people get around? Yeah, I mean, how do people get to FOIA from? How do people fly? I've been, I've been to Zaza, I've been to Bunjam. I don't know if I've been to FOIA. Well, how do you explain this? How do people get there? You bring these dignitaries. How you gonna get? They're gonna use choppers, and they're just gonna. I mean, they will be in Communicado. I mean, how are they? What is the infrastructure? So I think they just raise a lot more questions than there are answers, and I'm just wondering. No wonder why we are where we are today. You have a group of people in the executive who I think I struggle with every little thing. I think this is real. Here in this country, they say, when the truth starts to come out, you should stop digging yourself. Just get ahead of it. I think if they had done this, maybe by now we would have probably, put this thing behind us like we do with everything else. But they've been dragging it and releasing it little by piece, little by little. The deputy minister of state came out, she gave her a part of her own. The press secretary came, she gave her her own. The deputy minister of information, he gave her their part.
They
Everybody,
want to work humor.
exactly. Everybody's giving her their little version of this. But I think they're in trouble. I think these people are in trouble, and I think they know it. But it's good to be with you here tonight. Let's take it apart for our people to understand how egregious this is. You know, look at
Thank
the
you.
money that is out for all the various sectors. And look at 6 million, 6 million, almost 6 million. Then we got
Yeah.
to talk about the whole firm that is selected to build this thing. There are reports that the firm is the president's relative. Now, is it?
Mr. Toby, we cannot hear you. Unmute your, yeah.
Okay, sorry. So I'm sure, like I said, this is what we're going to end the show tonight because there's a lot that we will talk about between the remaining time. So, Masa, just sitting and just looking at this madness because FOIA that I know, even with access to role, and, to allow diplomats to go into Foya, driving out of Monrovia or driving, I don't know from where. Maybe the next thing we're going to be hearing, they're going to put an airstrip or another airport for dignitaries, to get into Foya. But there's something that is also of concern. The funding, now we're hearing 10, now we're hearing 6. But there's also a law that prohibits that we also need to talk about because, as a country, the government have said to us that the funding for that project comes from national, regional, global, and private sources. They did not name any of the main regional source, national source or global source. The truth of the matter in our country, there is a section of the Public Financial Management Act. That document says that the government should disclose all public funds, including grants and donation, and mandate audit by the General Auditing Commission. At this point of the project, there's been no donor agreement that the Liberian people know about. There has been no account that we are aware of. There has been no audit framework that has been disclosed by this government. So, who are the funders? Where they say is coming from national people, regional people, global people, and private sector sources. Where are the sources? How do they convince us that the money is not coming from Liberian people, money, but there are external sources? But even in our financial management act, it should be disclosed, and there was nothing of such done while the project seem to be going the way it is going. Masa?
Thank you, Mr. Toby. You see, like we were discussing earlier, this government is everything that they have criticized over the years, and even more. This one project has taken the justification of this one project has taken so many routes, and I'm pretty sure this is not even like the last one. So I'll probably advise you guys to screenshot whatever the minister has posted, and just for the future, because you're going to have the next justification for this. So you'll be able to compare notes and see the different story to this one project. But the funding for this is no private sector, it's no how you call it, donors, it's no regional, it's government money that they are going to use for this. And one thing I'm excited that he was able to put in there, that this is going to be for the government. So whoever is going to give them that money, whether they're regional, whether they're Europe, whether they're Asian, at the end of the day, when it's built, it will be turned over to government. That's the good news that came out of his red out for me. But like you all said, these are people who talk about law and order, and even as we speak, they continue to arrest people under the banner of law and order, rule of law. And they continue to break the very law that they continue to arrest other people for breaking. So it tells you, bring us back again to our previous discussion. Why, when people are outside and they see everything wrong with an institution, and then when they get into that institution, they even become the worst of what they saw. That's it. They adapt to whatever is in there, or they, you know, they are just not passionate about their job. But like Mr. Mangbe said, where are the roles for these regional leaders to travel soon to get to that conference center or that regional center, security center that they're building in Foya? Where are the roles? This is the same government that promised us 85 yellow machines, and no cars are going to get stuck. And we yet to see the yellow machines, and so many cars have already gotten stuck, you know? So everything is just It's just bunch of lies. And this is something that's going to catch up with them because now everybody is following. You take a project from $10 million, you say $6 million, the other person get different need for the project, the other person get different funding sources and stuff. So now we are depending on the legislature to be able to call the government, the executive, to order, and be let the executive be able to give them another story of that project, because at the end of the day, I like giving people money, and we want to know what is being built over there, because so far the project has gotten so many names, different names, and for different reasons. So let them be able to, the government be able to explain to the legislature what is that building for, how does it benefit the Liberian people or the country. Yeah, I think this is what the legislature should be pursuing. And if possible, if we can talk to the PL to be able to, get on that other, take the lead in questioning the executive, or how you call it, collaborating with his colleagues at the legislature to be able to pressure the executive to give us more information. We are not going to take what has been posted, because at the end of the day, that minister is going to edit whatever he posted over there. That's why I'm saying you guys should screenshot it and not just, copy and paste it. Just screenshot it with his name, everything showing, and save it somewhere. And then later on, when they come out with an explanation, carry your save screenshot and compare notes and see the difference. That's what I have to say.
All right, thank you. We still got some follow-up question because it is not possible for Liberia to just unilaterally declare an MRU assets. We are part of a union. So unilaterally, we can sit here as a government and declare, you know, an assets for MRU. But the government said the project is an MRU initiative. In my mind and other Liberians, including all of us here, it is a contradiction that the MRU, which of course is a treaty-based organization governed by collective decision of member states. So any project that is required to be an MRU project require a council of ministers, heads of state resolution, share financing, institutional governance. But as we speak, none of the above were presented or has been presented. And unilaterally, it is not possible for us to declare an MRU access when we know it is a treaty organization. That is also a contradiction that speaks to the lies that the government is putting forth. Dr. Francis.
Yes, Mr. Toby, I'm in agreement with you. There are several contradictions that this press release to the Liberian people shows. Uh, I start off by saying it's a blatant lie. It's a bunch of baloney. I want to read where it says why FOIA, Lofa County. If you look at the last paragraph, which is very suspicious to me, and Liberians, if you're listening to me, please find this, read it, and take Masa's advice. I already took pictures of it. It says the people of Foya. Who are the people of Foya they are talking about here? Okay, that's my first question. The people of Foya have long been active in dialogues. So, how long have this dialogue occurred? And who are these people of Foya that are making decisions for a treaty-based organization, as indicated by Mr. Toby? And he says that so the people of Foya have been in dialogue with their neighbors in Sierra Leone and Guinea on regional peace and development issue through the Makona River Organization. How come we Liberians have not seen anywhere or do not know about this dialogue that have been occurring between we, the Liberian people, and the people of Sierra Leone and Guinea on regional peace. Why don't we know that information? Isn't that what the press of authority of the press agency of Liberia should be informing us during their press conferences? But this is my first time, and maybe some of you are ahead of me reading about this. And of course, they said Makona River Organization. Do we have? I mean, we do, but what do we know about the Macomana River Organization? So they have changed this thing from Mana River now to Macona River Organization. So if you look at, even if we go, like you said, the Mana River Union website, I would expect, and this is a prestigious organization in our region, that at least they will have something endorsing, okay, even though they're now telling us that this is a government, Liberian government property. But why are those other countries that make up the Mana River organization not endorsing this on the website? That's my second question. And lastly, there's two questions relating to the budget I'd like to ask. Last night, we spent some time, Mr. Nami and I, talking about the legality of them transferring money from what it was allocated for in the budget to something else. We saw that in the agriculture budget, they have historically transferred money from that budget to maybe the Ministry of Presidential Affairs, or they have transferred it to, the airport or what have you. Same here, we are talking tonight. One way that they have of hiding money is to put it in the security budget. They will transfer money and say that they are transferring it into the security budget. Does the transfer a law in Liberia, the transfer budget law in Liberia, or budget transfer law, does it say that you can just transfer money of choice, by a presidential choice, or is it of necessity? That's the question I have. And secondly, you talk about the Public Financial Management Act. It asks that we should disclose all public funding. Where is the public funding that went to building this building in Foya? Where is that at? Is it where? Where can we find this? And as a Liberian, and all Liberians should know, because it is our money, what are donated, what are its taxes that is being used to build this building. So that's what I have to ask.
Yeah, great question. Great questions for all of us and the Liberian people, because if we continue to sit without talking about it, definitely is going to affect us. And to talk about it is to speak to the authority on the issue. But let me come back to you, Mr. Nangwe. That is raising a very serious concern besides the issues on the PFMI, the Public Financial Management Act. The government has gone on to inform us, and you talk about that, and talking about the strategic nature of FOIA and as to why it was being chosen. But the truth is that there was no feasibility study that any Liberians knew about. There were no impact assessment, for example, or national consultation held to disclose the issue of the construction, contrary to standard public investment planning. Because when you're doing this kind of a planning, a public investment planning, there should be consultation, there should be impact assessment, there should be national consultation about it. But out of the blue, we saw the project, we heard different narrative of the project. Now they're telling us that because FOIA is strategically situated, that is why they were being chosen. But what were the compelling factor? The assessment, the impact assessment, the feasibility study. None of those have been discussed, but we see a construction coming up in Foya, Lofar County, with different names and different, justification from the actors of the government, and we are now asking them more questions. And I want you to further elaborate on this portion of my question to you, Mr. Nangwe.
Yeah, Mr. Smith. I mean, Toby. I think what you're describing is very much akin to the fire incident, where the president got on the very morning the news broke, and he went there on the scene and passed judgment on the cause of the fire. And that ever since has left the investigators in a quandary because now they are reverse engineering an answer to fit the president's declaration. This is the same situation here. The Minister of Public Works, who I believe should be in full knowledge of this, he said he doesn't know about it. The Minister of State in the president's office went for his confirmation. He has no knowledge about this. The president's press secretary, who I think talks to the president every morning after he drinks his tea or whatever it is. Where was the decision made? Like you're asking, how was it decision? How was this even arrived? What is the reliance? What is the research that was put into this? Where is the vetting that was put into this? That's part of that. Where is the money coming from? Like Dr. Richardson is asking, their own Senator Amra Kone. He is the one who has been stirring things up, and he will know because he was a minister of finance before. He knows how the budget is put together, and he knows when anything moves out of the budget that shouldn't be in place. He knows it. So he has been educating us on what is happening inside the budget. He has been able to account to us over $6 million, that was appropriated for other things and is being used and reapplied, somewhere else. So yeah, there are a lot of questions that will attend this villa construction. Like you're rightly asking, how was this decision arrived at? How did they choose FOIA? What is the investigation that went into this? Where the studies? Why are we going to FOIA to build a villa? How was this sanctioned? And then there's all the other group that were attending it. Even the MRU, Monrovia Union, they came out to kind of because they were trying to hang it on them, and the person said no. We don't boy, so they're trying to find an explanation that will fit this, and I think this is really, really, really very difficult to understand. And this is not a small undertaking. This is a very big undertaking. I don't think they imagined they would be able to do it so secretly that nobody would know about it. I don't understand that. But yes, I really agree with you. There are a lot of questions that are coming out. I don't believe any of us here will even come anywhere close to asking some of the questions that other people will have and the answers that these questions require. But on the face of it, it really looks like a very, very bad undertaking that will probably be one of those big, putting a Liberian way, those big heavy load Kenya that's gonna sit on these people's head. People are in the streets crushing rocks. You understand me? I keep saying that, and we're building headquarters, party headquarters. Now we're building another real estate in Lofa. What is this obsession with real estate? We never owned house before until we got in government. Every day we gotta build some kind of thing, So they need to do a better job right now. So far, all the attempts to explain this thing away have fallen flat. They need to do a better job. We need to.
I want to throw one question across the table. Then Masad and Dad can respond to the same question based on the interest of your response. So I heard you talk about the budget, Mr. Nangwe, and again, on our law, there's a way in which projects, can get their own appropriation from the national budget. So if the government is saying to us that the project is lawful, it means that the project got properly approved. So if you read the write out and the justification, if the project is properly approved and it is a lawful project by this administration, when you place that fight against the public, again, we'll go back to the Public Financial Management Act. Go look for section 17, 18, and 37. It says something very important. And Master, I want you to speak to this, and that I want you to speak to this. In that section, it says all public projects should be appropriated through the national budget. This project that the government claim now is a public project should be appropriated through the national budget. But as we speak, and as we've been reading through the budget lines as of the coming in of this government, there is no identifiable budget lines in any appropriation act authorizing this project. So what is the justification? If it is not, if there is no line in our national budget that said this money is placed in the budget, and according to the Financial Management Act, the Public Financial Management Act, all projects should be appropriated through the budget. But there's nothing to identify in our national budget about this project. There's no allocation about it. Where is the money coming from? That and Masa, I wonder you can start and that can maybe pick up this, or we want to speak first.
So, Mr. Toby, oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Toby, thank you. So this is corruption. This is corruption just being played in our faces, and so then it brings me to the question, where did the money come from to even start the project? And now, like, just based on what you just said, all of the budget that we have had since this government came into power. And I'm pretty sure if you go back to the previous budget, there's no line item concerning this project. So where did it take the money from to even start the project? Where the money came from? And I think this is where the legislature should be able to do their work. Because if you are telling us now that this project is worth $6 million, where did you take the $6 million from? And why is the $6 million not listed in the budget? Even if it's not the 2025 budget or the 2026 now coming up budget, why was it not listed in the 2024 budget? Because the government came into power 2024, January, right? I believe January. Yeah, so why was it not listed there? Even the recast budget, do we have this project amount listed there? No. So this is corruption being played in our faces. And for me personally, I'm not surprised because this is a party and this is a government that was in power before for the last 12 years. And we had billions that came in our country and there was no accountability. In fact, whoever was heading our previous 12 years even said that they would take accountability for their child when our child was caught in the corruption, in the scandal. They took accountability for that child. So who knows what Joe Barker is going to take accountability for? And I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be this project or something else. But yeah, this is just pure corruption. And this is the time for the legislature to do their work. And if they cannot do their work, if they have never done their work before, this is the best time for them to do their work because this is abuse of the law. These are people who are arresting people for breaking the law, the rules and law, and they are breaking it. And they are stealing from the Liberian people. So this is the time for the legislature to do their work. There's no justification. It's hard to justify lies. If this government are just going to come out to say the truth hurts, but guess what? It's okay for us. We'll just talk about it and that's it. But for you to just be beating around the bush, and every time you beat around the bush, It brings out more questions, more curiosity, and it breaks the law. So the legislature really need to step in and do their job. That's all I can say.
Yeah. You know, if you read the one of the paragraph in uh what the minister wrote today, assistant minister wrote today, he said under the headline funding of the project, and Mr. Toby read it. I'm just reiterating what they said. This said the project is financed through a combination of contributions from national. So when you say that this project is from national or regional, and well, they said national, regional, and global, as you have rightly said, and Massa have rightly said, that we should see a line item that says, you know, MRU project, and this is where the national contribution looks like. This is where the regional contribution looks like, and this is where global contribution look like. We don't know any of that, and it is a gross violation of the law. It is a violation, have said here, beginning with the Public Financial Management Act. We can also hold them accountable to the Budget Transfer Act of 2008, that we don't know where this money came from. They will tell us, they transfer it from somewhere else for security reason, as they usually do. Okay. And they also went on to tell us that this money came from private individuals and businesses. This money came from private individuals and businesses. Who are those private individuals in Liberia and businesses? I think Liberians have the right to know. How are you connected to this government that you have been making such donation, or what kind of businesses do you have that you have been making such donation? To me, it goes a little bit into the code of conduct as well. How much did they donate to the government? Because after a certain amount, if you or if you work with the government, or if you're a private individual, or if you're a business, we have to know. Okay, so it's sort of borderlining a step into these three areas: our public financial law, the Budget Transfer Act, and the code of conduct of our country. So all of these makes it a way that we can say this government is corrupt. Okay, now I want to say, when it comes to feasibility study, as you mentioned, they will ask CMC when we want to do something good for the Liberian people, like building a bridge in Bon County to help our people, so that people shouldn't perish, or they shouldn't die or be traumatized to cross a bridge that connect two people from Bon County. Then they will ask us for feasibility study. They want to know how much cost analysis. Okay, did they ask for feasibility study as according to the Public Financial Management Act, in order to build this structure that they're building in FOIA? No. So we have to look at the selective use of applying the law. Somebody I believe it was Michelle Obama that says power reveals who you are. Okay, and this is exactly what is happening with this government. It's revealing them every step of the way. They are applying our laws selectively, and they are using the power that we have given them to suppress we, the Liberian people. And it's no joke. We really have to look into this. So that's what I have to add.
Thank you very much. Sometimes we enjoy this show so much that we hope that time will not catch up with us. But again, it's already 1:30 our time here.
Toby, is it okay to leave? I'm sorry.
So it's time for us to wrap up. I know we're back here on set tomorrow. We can continue from where we stopped. This is a developing story. There are more sides to the story. I know tomorrow there will be more questions coming up. There could be uh, more clarity coming from the government because I know they will have to provide the needed clarity. So let's go around the table to close up in a minute each. Let me start with Massa. Now we are wrapping up. So let me come to
Thank
you
you.
in just a minute. Um, Based on what all we said tonight, so that you can close, then I will come to Mr. Nangbe, and that will close finally.
Thank you, Mr. Toby. Thanks for holding the show down, while I was struggling to log in. Thank you. And so I just want to thank all of you, for this platform. Thanks to our listening audience on Facebook as well as in Liberia. I think today was everything that we discussed. They are important, and I think whoever, like our listeners, they were able to hear from us directly on all of the issues that are going on in our country. And at the end of the day, they are going to make their own informed decision whether to re-elect this government or to elect the CMC. And I think they have a better chance if they elect the CMC. They have a better chance, they have a better future, and they will see a brighter Liberia. So just want to say, join the movement, don't be afraid, come in with all of your smart ideas or whatever, and all of us could be able to work together and make our country a better place. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you, Massa. Mr. Nangbe?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Toby. Thank you, Dr. Richardson, and also Ms. Grill. It's been good being with you. I will end on the note that Doc ended on. I will kind of just, agree with her. I think there is a real code of conduct question here that comes into play. Right now we're in the midst of SOEs refusing to report their expected contribution to the national budget. Hence, we're having these shortfalls every budget year because uh, they're not reporting. And there is a real question to be asked here because these are business entities. Well, what influence do they hold over the executive that is producing such reluctance for the executives to go after them to actually report what is required of them? So when these contributions are being made by business people and friends and all of these, we have to ask, well, in return for what? What kind of sway do these people then hold over our executive? How do they impact decisions? And again, as we all know, when there is a budget shortfall, the big boys and big girls always get their share from the budget. It's only the little people who experience the shortage, the shortfall, and they walk away with nothing. So those are very good questions. And as we debate this FOIA thing, I will continue to unpack it and bring more clarity to our people. And our people need to take interest in these things because they affect all of us. This is not about he against she or who. No, this is about doing good and right by our people. When they do all of these things, they're actually putting their hand directly in our pockets and taking away what really belongs to us. So our people need to wake up and be a part of this soul searching journey that we're all undertaking. Join the movement, join the CMC, or join some other movement. But don't just sit there and expect other people to do it. And then no, we're stronger together. So thank you again for the show tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nangbe. That.
Thank you. As you heard, it was a clarion call for you to join the movement, join CMC. One of the primary questions on the minds of CMC is what is the priority for our country, Liberia, right now? Is building a conference center in Foya, Lufa County, a priority of the Liberian people? I will say that CMC will say no. The priority of the Liberian people is putting food on our table and sending our children to school. Okay? An area in which we find the government of Liberia is barely thinking about, as indicated in the budget. They have made healthcare, education, and agriculture, allocated low money to those three areas, the areas that will impact us, the areas that are priority to CMC and to the Liberian people. So we here at CMC, we're asking you to join the movement, okay, where you will be able to speak for the development of our country. We are developmental oriented, as you can see, when our political leader, Representative Musa Hassan Bilite, goes somewhere and wants to develop just a bridge, our government will then be asking for feasibility study. But they don't ask, the people how they build things in Foya. They don't ask, what was the ground mixture was, as they have been asking us. So that should tell you that this government do not have you at heart, nor do they have you as a priority. So join the movement, join us, let's talk. Together we can transform our country. So that's what I have to close with tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Professor. Dr. Francis, thank you ever so much. It was actually good seeing you. Thanks to Mr. Nangbe for coming. Thanks to Masa for the time. I'm sure it was rewarding. We touched everything making rounds in the media tonight during the course of the day in Liberia. Let's hope later on, again, when we're back here, will be another fascinating time. Let me say thanks to our radio listeners in Seknepi and Nima County. They've been on tonight carrying this broadcast. Truth FM, Nimad, and Truth FM, Morovia. They've been on our bike with the show. Thanks to all of the viewers for staying with us tonight. We hope to see all of you tomorrow. Until then, I want to wish all of you a pleasant night. From my end, from the rest of you out there, I know your day continue. We'll see you again, hopefully tomorrow. Good night to all of you, and thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you
Bye.
too, Mr. Tobin.
Thank you.
CMC, for the people, by the people, and to the people. Citizens Movement for